If you have not watched part 1 and part 2 of my business series, go back and catch that. It is talking about how to start a business and registrations and trademarks. This is going to lead us into now part 3. We're going to talk about contracts, collaborations, and attorneys. Make sure you are following and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a 4-part series. So we did parts 1 and part 2. Now today we're going to talk about part 3. So let's get into this information. Let's first talk about contracts. Now, whether you're a larger business owner or a smaller business owner, it is so important that you get people to sign contracts and that you are also signing contracts to protect yourselves legally. So we're going to get into a couple of different contracts that you may run into. The first one is going to be a copyright transfer agreement. Now, a lot of people don't think to get this because, we just want to make money. We want to just operate our businesses, right? But a copyright transfer agreement is necessary if you went through the trademarking process and you paid someone to make your brand or your logo. Guess what? They own it. Even though you came up with that graphic yourself, even though you came up with the colors and how it's going to look, if you paid someone else, or even if you did not pay someone else and they physically went on a computer or drew the design themselves, they own your graphic. So you need to have them sign a copyright transfer agreement so that you own your own graphics and logos. The next one, non-disclosure agreement. Now, non-disclosure agreements, we typically hear that with celebrities, right? And we think to ourselves, we're nobody famous. I don't have that type of money. But this is why a non-disclosure agreement is important. If you are working with a third party or someone outside of your business and they have access to use your logos, your name, your ideas, your brand, you want to have them sign a non-disclosure agreement. The reason why is because you don't want them doing business with your brands, your logos, and your ideas with someone else without your permission. So this happens a lot. I see this often where people have their own brands, they have their own logos, and they say, you know what, I want you to help sell my products, but they did not get the person to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So guess what happens? On the back end somewhere, they're using their information. Whether it be another business or a person, they need to be signing a non-disclosure agreement, particularly an intellectual non-disclosure agreement that protects you from someone else using your brand and your logos without your permission. And if they do, then you now have legal recourse to approach them in court if they do so. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is employee and independent contractors. Now, a lot of times, people think independent contractors is just someone, it could be someone and I'm just going to have them come in for a few hours and do a couple of things, whatever the duties are. It's not really an employee, so you don't think that you need to have documents for that person. Legally, you do. An independent contractor and or employee who is operating under your business, you need to have an agreement. You need to have a contract. That agreement is going to state what they're being hired for or contracted for, what their hours are going to be, their rate of pay, and what you're expecting from them and also what they're expecting from you. It is a clear legal agreement between yourself and that party so that you guys are clear on what their role is when it comes to your business. So make sure that you guys are getting an employee and or independent contractor to sign these agreements. If you do not know how to do so, you can look it up online or you could contact a business attorney. We're going to get more into the attorneys after we finish with the contracts and collaborations. But it is super, super important that business owners, future business owners, anyone that you're doing business with, you need to be having documents signed. I see this a lot as well. This is a friend of mine. This is someone I've known for 15, 20 years. I can trust them. And then you guys end up in court and nobody has documents to support what it is that they're claiming and to protect yourselves. So make sure, no matter what the relationship is, no matter how long you've known a person, if they are operating in any capacity under your business, you need to be getting some contracts and agreements signed. The next is a business to business contract. If you are going to be doing business with another business owner, so say for instance, I have a boutique, and if another business wants to do business with my boutique, they may want product from me, or I want product from them, or we're just collaborating. That is a business to business contract. We are using each other's business to sell the product, to get more customers, whatever the goal is for both of your businesses. You need to make sure that their business and your business both have an agreed upon contract to protect both of your businesses. The next one is brand and store contracts. So a lot of us dream about, oh, I want to be in like a big department store. I want to be in a name brand store. I want to be in this name brand, whatever it is online, right? I'm not going to put any names out there, but we know what the department stores and what the popular websites are. So if you have dreams or goals of working with another business, another company, another brand, a department store, that is called a brand store contract. You want to make sure that you are having that brand, that store, that business sign a contract to use your brand, your logos, and whatever else that you guys agreed upon them using. Again, this protects yourself and it protects that business. You do not want to allow a business full access to use your products, use your name, use your brands, use your logos, and you guys do not have an agreement signed. That gives them the right to just use it however they want, right? They could go out and get all the customers they want, and you don't get anything from that because you did not have them sign an agreement. So you do not want to end up in that predicament. You want to make sure you are protecting yourself, protecting your brand, and protecting the deal that you are making with that business. Okay. So there are a whole lot of different contracts. There is a retail partnership. That's a collaboration where both the brand and the network is going to work together for mutual benefits. So if I am a retailer and I'm collaborating with someone, then we may do a retail partnership where we're both getting something. They're getting my brand and maybe I'm getting some product. Whatever the agreement is, you want to make sure, again, that you have a contract with it, which is called a retail partnership. Now, there's a whole lot of different contracts. Just to be clear, it's not one set contract. It is a different contract according to what services you are providing, what you're receiving, and what the agreement is. So you need to make sure that you are drawing up the correct contract for the type of deal that you're making. It is super, super important because if you do not have the correct contract, it can be voided. And this is why I talk about having an attorney. Again, we're going to touch on that in a minute. So now let's get into collaborations. We know all about how to start a business. We know about the registrations and trademarks. We know that we need contracts for those that we're doing business with. But now we need to be mindful about collaborations. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is so important. I have people reach out to me a lot. I want to collab with you. We see it a lot on social media, on all different platforms. You may get it in your DMs. You may even receive some emails because now you being a business, your name is up there at the top as a business and they want something from you. And so you may start receiving emails and DMs and say, hey, I want to collab with you. I want you to sell my products. I want to sell your products. I want to work with you. And you may even get people to approach you in person. I've had people say to me, oh, you have a business and you talk about business things and you do ABC. I want to collab with you. And then I ask the question, what is it that you offer? What is it that you do when it comes to business? And they may say something like, I do motivational speaking, or I do retail as well, or I do whatever it is. Now, here's the first thing. You want to make sure if you are willing to collaborate with someone or a company that it aligns with what it is that you are doing. So I have an online boutique. I have a brand that sells apparel. I do not need maybe someone who has a pet shop, right? I don't want to collab with someone who has a pet shop because it does not align with what my mission and what my vision is. So just because someone is saying, hey, I want to collaborate with you and I'm going to offer you whatever the percentage is, and it may be like, oh my gosh, I have people interested and I can make some money, and we get excited, but we don't think about the pros and cons of what comes with those collaborations. You want to make sure that it's going to benefit your business and benefit their business. You do not want to enter into a collaboration contract and you cannot fulfill what that contract is saying. So make sure that what it is aligned with what your business goals are. Another thing, be selective in who you guys are collaborating with. I had a person approach me and say, hey, I want to collab with you. And they told me what it is that they did. And guess what the first thing I did was? I started to research. You have to research people. If you are open to collaborating, whether it be with another business, with an individual, even with an independent contractor, you need to make sure that they have a good reputation. First of all, good reputation personally. Second of all, good reputation professionally. You want to make sure that you are not just collaborating with someone who could possibly give your business a bad name. So when that person approached me and say, hey, I want to do a collab, the first thing I said, well, what is your social medias? You know, I always make sure they follow me and I follow them, or at least I go check out their page even before I follow, because, you know, we have to be careful as business owners on whom we're following, because you do know when you follow people, their information shows up on your page. And so you have to be selective in whom you're collaborating with, whom you're affiliating with, and whom you're dealing with on your social media platforms. So I went to this young lady page, and the first thing I seen were like maybe 10 to 20 pictures of herself. And let's just say they weren't professional type pictures, okay? Just read between the lines. They were not professional pictures. And I kept scrolling because I wanted to find somewhere on the page where she was promoting what she said she did. Now, here's the thing. If I tell you I'm a retail shop owner, if I tell you I'm a business professional, you should be able to see somewhere on my pages that I am representing that. You should not go on my social medias and see nothing about my business, nothing about the services I offer, nothing about me being a business owner, nothing about me being a professional. We need to make sure we are representing ourselves correctly. So make sure you are doing your research. Look for Google reviews. If they have a legitimate registered business, should have a Google page, they should have a website. Those things you want to look for. Go on their social medias and see if they're interacting with real people in real time. Go and look at their Google reviews. Maybe check out their other social medias, whether it be YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is. You want to make sure you are confirming that you are going to be working with a professional and that they have a good review. Okay, that is so important. You do not want to collaborate or work with someone and they have a bad reputation, a bad professional reputation or a private reputation, right? So you want to make sure that you're being represented correctly, and vice versa. You want to make sure you're doing the same. It is so important that we are collaborating with people who are aligned with us as professionals. And then lastly, we're going to touch on attorneys. What type of attorneys do you need when you have a business? So I tell everyone you need a trademark attorney. Again, I talked about registration and trademarking last week or 2 weeks ago. Make sure you go back and watch that video. It is so important that you hire a trademark attorney. Why? Because the trademark attorney is going to help you do searches, fill out applications for your trademarks and your intellectual properties. They're going to explain the process to you. They're going to explain how you are protected once you're trademarking and a whole host of other things. Now, You know, we see everything on YouTube. You guys are watching me on YouTube right now, right? We see a lot of information on YouTube and we say, you know what? I'm not going to pay a professional. I can do that myself. There is nothing to say that you cannot try to do it yourself, but you want to make sure you have extra security. It's just like when you see celebrities go out, a lot of times they have bodyguards, right? And the reason for that is because they want to make sure they are secured and safe. You want to do the same things for your business. You want to protect your business. You want to make sure it's secured and safe because we put a lot of time, money, effort, ideas, a whole lot of sweat and tears into our businesses. So I do not want you guys not to be protected. I do not want you guys to lose your businesses or end up in big legal actions because you did not do a document or you skipped a step or you just didn't want to pay an attorney. It may take some time if you are a small business owner such as myself. It took me a little while to hire some attorneys. It took me a little while to get through all of these processes that I'm talking to you guys about. It did not happen overnight. It was a slow build. I tell everyone, if money is an issue, make a list and start from step 1, step 2, step 3, and go through your list and knock something off the list. And so what I did is I went through the whole process of how to start my business, then how to register my business, then how to trademark my business. And in order for me to trademark my business, I knew I had to pay a trademark attorney. So what I did is I reached out to the trademark attorney and I found out what is the process and how much is it going to cost, because that way I can plan and I can get my finances in order. Okay, so make sure that you guys are hiring a trademark attorney. Next, you want to have a business attorney. Your business attorney is going to handle your contracts, your intellectual properties, meaning that they're going to watch over your trademarks and your logos and make sure nobody is using them. They're going to help you with those deals that we talk about. If you guys want to do a brand deal, they are going to be the ones to cover all of those things related to your business, your contracts, your documents, making sure that everything is in order for you legally. Even with your tax documents, you want to make sure you have all of those things in order. And that's where your business attorney is going to come into play. And then lastly, you want to make sure you have a tax attorney. Yes, you need a tax attorney. You want to make sure that your taxes are in order. Now, this is more so if you're a bigger business. I will say if you are a small business owner, a LLC or a sole proprietor, you are typically filing your taxes under yourself as an individual. So you can you're more than welcome to use like an accountant, somebody that's licensed and knows all about businesses. Do not go to just a regular tax preparer though. You want to make sure they are a business tax preparer. Business taxes are so different than individual taxes because now you're talking about deductions and what you could claim and what you need to put down as an expense and what you need to put down as an asset. There's a whole lot of different things that comes into business taxes. And so if it is on a smaller scale, you can use a business tax preparer. But if you are doing business on a bigger scale, you're bringing in a lot of profit and you're putting out a lot of money, you want to hire a tax attorney. Okay, so those are the things I wanted to talk to you guys about. Next week, we are going to talk about business etiquette. That is one of my favorites. Please make sure you guys go back and check out parts 1, part 2. This is now part 3, and I am going to post part 4 next week of business etiquette. Business etiquette is what we're going to close off our series with, and that is equally as important as the rest of the steps that I talked to you guys about, because we want to make sure that we are being professional at all times. We are seen as professionals and that people are taking us and our businesses seriously. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. If you have not watched